We are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
Dummy. Conspiracy dummy.
Hey, welcome to Conspiracy Dummy, the conspiracy podcast that came, saw, and conquered the new world. I am your host, Double D. Joining me, we got Mr. Williams.
What's up?
Also, on the other end, we have the homie, Mike Poblano. What's up, homie?
What's up?
What's up? What's up? Can I bang this shit? What's good, man? How you been?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just like living this new life in New Mexico, which is really cool because it's close to the Trinity testing site, like White Sands and stuff too. You know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff out here that I've been noticing with the stars. It's actually pretty cool, and a lot of reading and stuff, man. It's the desert, and there's really not that many people here.
Yeah.
So
It's beautiful out there, man. I used to live in northern New Mexico, and yeah, dude, you could see a lot of stars. The sunsets are pretty nice and shit, you know? So I miss it. I miss it, man. I'm pretty sure you're stoked about the fucking free or the legalized weed coming soon.
yeah, well, the recreational, like that's cool. I signed up for my medical card anyways because, like, well, I went to the smoke shop, right? And the guy's like, well, just go ahead and go through the process, man, because then you're gonna be able to get like discounts and shit, you know,
Yeah.
and stuff. So I was like, oh, cool. So he's like, yeah, like, and then I think you can write some of it off or something as like medicine or something. I don't know, dude. I just want to smoke weed. Like, I just want to smoke weed, man, and not get arrested or get a ticket.
That's what's up. Don't we all, man?
From your mouth to God's ears, my friend.
Yep. So today, man, there's a lot of shit going on in the world today, bro. A lot of turmoil going on, like in Afghanistan, Australia, a lot of crazy shit, bro.
Just to name a few.
Even here in the States too, man. But
Yeah.
and who knows how society, because we see it rise and we have seen it fall. Well, at least we learned about it in history, but not everything, bro. There's some things that are left unsaid or not told. We're not taught this shit in schools and shit like that. But Tartaria, bro. I don't know. I've been hearing about it recently. I've been hearing about it in another podcast and shit like that. But I don't know, man. It's interesting. It's like, can you tell us more about this, man?
Well, it's like
This land.
this place, like, well, they say. Here's the thing. It's like there was, I guess, all this civilization that existed before. You know, if you go to Russia and like where they have the CERN, like Switzerland and stuff like that, they have all these like statues that show these like really strong kind of faced women. You know what I mean? It almost kind of look like dudes.
Like dudes.
But
huh?
like the Roman, like, yeah, but kind of like Romanesque. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just like they've got those
Very
nose,
butched.
kind of
Yeah.
like this, kind of like this nose, and like, and it just like it's that flat, you know, kind of like but big nose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're all over, and like what's funny is that you look back at it and you're like, well, there used to be, I guess, if you look back at the old stuff, like, I guess, like, if you want to look at Chinese or I guess Mexican, if you want to call it that, because there's really no such thing as a Mexican per se. It's the area. You know what I mean? They're like Native Americans mixed with some other things. So, like, it was getting me. Hold on 1 second.
No, go ahead, man. Yeah. Mike's cooking some steak right now. We caught him in the middle of this.
Yeah,
but-
I actually.
You gotta
I got
eat,
the
man.
munchies. Yeah, I have to, man. I got the munchies really bad, and it's like, oh crap, he called right when I was starting making them.
No
But
problem,
yeah,
man.
so I was noticing all these like old statues from old Mayan stuff, and these were from civilizations like before the Aztecs, and probably before like the Mayans. This is the thing. The world used to be way closer together. Like Africa used to almost connect directly to South America.
Yeah.
Like as the world moves, it's like the rate of precession, that wobble it's on, or whatever it is, that causes the poles to change or whatever. You can see where the trenches are in the earth, where it looks like someone just busted it open. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
for
there's
real.
like crack, and you can see where it would have. It's like okay, when you drop a cake, you know, it's like boom, and then it kind of slides a little bit with different layers.
Uh-huh.
And if you drop it on, say, like a rock wall with like a point, it's gonna break, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of slide off. That's basically exactly it. So if you want, go ahead and kind of pretend like you're stitching it together, pull it together, and imagine how the world would be when everything was posted together, right?
Yes.
So then I was looking at these pictures of these statues that are like pre-Columbian. So, and there's a guy in there there's a lady that has something that looks like a third eye, right? It's supposed to be Mayan or something like that, and she looks straight up Asian. And I'm like, she looks like she's from Japan or some shit. She doesn't look like she's from like Mexico.
She probably had a deformity, bro, like a third eye just popping.
No, bro, no. They like, and this is what, like, if you look at the old temples, you see these. I guess you'd call it like Quetzalcoatl looking, you know, like Native Americans, but they look kind of Asian. And then if you look at the
Olmecs, like that, those
well,
big
kind
heads,
of the Olmecs, they call, they were black.
Oh, okay. They look like a mixture of Asian or black, I think. Yeah.
No, they were black. The Phoenicians are the Asian ones.
Oh, okay.
The Phoenicians, they're the ones with the head stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And you can look at all the cultures. The Mayan, the Egyptian, I mean, Cambodian, the Chem and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
They're all darker skinned with that huge ass head, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, if that's the case, then their architecture has to be the same. So then I started like looking at the architecture in like India, and the architecture in Mexico and South America. And I was like, well, they're kind of the same.
Very
I'm like,
similar.
they're kind of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, they have the same kind of structure, especially with the step stuff. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then I would look like, okay, well, then the gods must kind of be the same. So I started looking at the gods, and I'm like, okay, Viracocha, and you know, god of like lightning, right?
Yeah.
And then it has him on a structure that's a step pyramid, and you go, okay, well, what would that version be in India? And it's like, I think there was a Virochana or Indra or something like that, and god of thunder and lightning.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what else? And then you go to everyone, you find out, holy crap, it's all the same stuff. And you go really into like this Tartarian thing where I guess they're a civilization that was before. They were before the Phoenician ones took over in this reset. Because there's been a whole bunch of different resets before.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because like the Maya, I guess the Egyptians too, they built on previous, like the foundation was something else. Somebody was there at one time, built there, probably was wiped out. Or I don't know what happened. But then they came and rebuilt these people, like the Aztecs, Maya, all them. They were built on other foundations. Yeah. Previous civilizations.
You look at the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, it's obviously a machine. Like, there's no writing in it whatsoever. The way that it's built, it's perfectly. This is the one thing you can tell that something's made to be for a certain purpose.
Yeah.
It's the way it resonates. Like the resonance in it. It's like, okay, well, it's obviously going to resonate at the frequency of whatever, I guess, like the Earth would be, or it's going to take that frequency and amplify it. And then you think about, okay, well, how would you amplify something? Technically, the way to amplify it would be from the top to the bottom. But then you think of a pyramid, it's kind of like a feedback loop. You know what I mean? It's going to go up like this and then come to a point, but it's still going to be coming up. So as it's coming down, it's almost going to be like, you know what I mean? Hitting it. Like the sound wave and the pressure is going to be like, and creating some sort of like pressure hammer. So then you look at what else the pyramid's made out with, and that's like limestone quartz, right?
Yeah.
And so quartz, if you put pressure on it, you get paid a dielectric charge, piezoelectricity. So the pyramid's supposed to be like one of the biggest structures in the world. actually the probably biggest structure in the world made of crystal. And you think of all that weight, plus you have the sound. So the sound is going to be basically amplifying the weight because it's like an on and off, a vibration, on and off, and on and off, and on and off, constantly.
So this is like this is lost technology, right?
Yeah, it's a lost technology. And if you look at the starports that are supposed to be Tartarians,
and they're all over the place. The star
yeah,
forts.
they're France, Netherlands, USA. The Statue of Liberty is on one.
Yes.
And then before the Statue of Liberty was on there was a bunch of markings on there too that had different celestial points. And the thing that I think everyone's missing is that if you look at the old Jesuit drawings or alchemical drawings, it always has like a sun and then a moon and then clouds blowing wind with angels in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that's it's just alchemical. They found out that the way that I perceive it is okay. If I were to actually put this in a regular manner, for some reason the geometrical structure of those things was always in water. So either they used the water to power it, or they structured the water itself, like antibacterial kind of. They structured it with like earth resonance or earth magnet. I don't know how they did it specifically. If I did, I built it myself. But the Phoenicians, I think they took their the technology of how to structure water and how to use like electric, right. But the thing is I think that there were Phoenicians, that both the Tartarians and the Phoenicians at one time were good.
Coexisted?
Technically.
Were they at the same time, coming up at the same time, or one predates the other?
How it's supposed to be is that in the Sumerian tales, there were like a race of beings that were made before man.
Okay.
And supposedly, their home is on Sirius. That's where you get like all the, I guess the Dogon gods, like the guys that wore the fish heads and stuff like that. Like you get those guys. So they're supposed to be like our cousins or something like that,
Yeah.
And they're the ones that supposedly came down and taught the Dogon people about the serpent knowledge, the Hopis about the serpent knowledge, I guess, whoever would have been in Asia or Russia and all that. And all serpent knowledge is just the knowledge of how to use the waves, sound waves, electric waves. And then you go into different stuff with, like the Tartarians, they have these structures, and a lot of their structures, you can tell the difference because there's no religious stuff on it. It just looks like it looks like if the church banged some kind of Thai architect or Cambodian architect for making of like Angkor and Wat or something like that. Like it looks like that. You have that Gothic style.
And you see those buildings even here in the U.S., like like the capitals, the Capitol buildings.
Red
and
brick.
Shit. Yes.
They're supposed to be made of red brick. And what's weird is, St. Patrick?
Yes.
Okay. It has almost the same telltale signs. It's a cathedral, right?
Yeah.
Made out of red brick. And the ceiling is like some green copperish. And then the Plaza Hotel, right?
Yeah.
Almost the same thing. And so what they postulate is every so often there's a mud flood. Like there's something that happens and you're able to harness sound or sound acts a certain way or activate something and excite. It's something that you can't see that happens within the ether. It's called an ether probation, I think. And it's that something or some field is being blocked at a certain time. So you're able to do crazy stuff at that time. People are able to fly. You're able to move water. People are able to walk on water. There's your Jesus stuff. You know what I mean? Like gravity. See, because gravity doesn't exist as people think it exists. Gravity in itself is, I believe it was a mixture of dielectricity and electromagnetism, or dielectricity and magnetism.
Yeah.
Because gravity is not constant. If it was constant throughout the universe, then it would be constant, right? Like, but it's different in the moon, it's different on Mars, everywhere. So that means that it doesn't exist, but it's an effect of the relation of two, I guess you want to call them forces, you want, whatever. But if you mitigate one force, you should be able to affect the force, not blindly break it, but spend it.
Yeah.
Like
So-
time doesn't exist. It's all relative. It's a very odd way of thinking, but to put it this way, the Tartarians, they were basically giants. They're kind of like a leftover civilization of giants. At one time, there were regular people that I guess you could see as Phoenician or whatever, and they were got along with the giants and stuff like that. But the story, I guess, goes as far as I've been looking at the pictures for all the research is that there was like another mud flood somewhere around maybe 1400, 1600, something like that. And you see a bunch of people that they're like people that were like us, like just regular, 5 to 6 foot people, like ants and stuff like that. And these like kind of 10-foot giants, and they're all wearing loincloths and carrying clubs.
So
and
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you saying? Something?
you have like it's almost like they got in a fight with the us people. You know what I mean? The people that were moving in, but they controlled everything before. And the Phoenicians have this like faceless night kind of thing. If you look it up, you'll see it. It's called faceless night. And inside that is either a fascist, which is a bundle of rods. And people are like, oh, it's an allegory. It's like with an axe on it. People are like, oh, it's a metaphor for everything being tight together. But you see all these people carrying it, and if you know what a railgun is, or you know how to concentrate like a field within a certain area, like if they were all and I know this sounds weird, but if they were all magnetized rods, because they had the ability to make magnets back in the day. If they had the ability to make electricity, they could make magnets. It's not that hard. You put iron inside of a copper, coil, and put an electric charge to it. The electric charge could be made with magnets, magnetic induction. It could be made with crystals. So magnets, crystals, basically everything that everybody, or static, atmospheric. You could do it with the sun. They have the ability to do this. They've even found things that have a triangle, which is supposed to be the light of God or whatever, that had a bunch of silica gel in it. And it's like, well, I don't know how they did it, but that's almost like a solar cell.
Like, so Tartaria, the Tartarians, they were a highly advanced civilization.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, highly advanced. They pray.
Totally.
It's like everything.
And they're from a day when everyone was bigger. Like everyone was taller. Everyone was like 12 feet.
So what we're doing right now is reinventing their wheels, because they pretty much had everything probably what we have right now. They're highly advanced.
Yeah.
They're the inventors of sweet tarts and tartar sauce, probably. You know what I mean? Like the Tartarians.
They got it from somewhere else.
So is that kind of like how they're now finding over time, like there's this erosion they're finding on the Sphinx, and now they're saying the Sphinx predates, Egypt and all of that as well. Is that kind of similar on the same premise wise? Somebody coming in.
It's the flood. The thing is all Egypt. It used to be there's ships that were there. Like Egypt used to be covered with water, essentially, not all around it.
Yeah.
But there was water there. There were underground cities, basically, that where the pyramid is, it's nothing. Like, it goes down, down, down. Like, all that, imagine, like, if you're on the bottom of the seafloor, where all you see is just sand all around you, right?
Yeah.
At the bottom of the seafloor. So, take all the water off. You're at the seafloor. What do you see? A bunch of sand all around you, right?
Yeah.
Basically almost like what it's like. And I find it funny as well that they don't build anything on that side where the pyramids are at all. I've looked, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like all this space, you're telling me not even a king or a prince or anything like that can build anything on it?
Like the mud flood you were talking about, you see that kind of evidence even in Russia. Some of the buildings like in St. Petersburg too. The foundation, like a lot of these things we were talking about, stuff being built on top of something else, like a previous civilization. You see that mud flood had occurred in those areas because they built on top of. There's like a whole bunch of rubble at the base of it and shit.
Oh yeah.
It's even here at what's it called, the Salt Lake Temple. If you see that, it's like a castle, dude. And you see the bottom of that shit, like the foundation of that, the modern one is made out of granite. and below that is made out of sandstone, completely different. It's from a different time. Damn, my cat just bit me. My bad.
As well, if you look at it, a lot of these fossilized things or whatever,
Yeah.
In order for a fossil to occur, it has to happen in like the right circumstance. A T-Rex has to fall into a lake that's covered in mud and be trampled over and over again for the years so that it gets down there. Okay, I get it. But what if there's a mud flood where they said that the water came up from the bottom? So all the earth turned to mud. It's not like, oh, the floodgates opened and then boom, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Nah. Supposedly, you can move water with sound. Okay? So, if there's water, can be magnetic. So technically, if you find a way or whatever frequency to match the water, you should be able to move it. Now, if you look at the old tales of, and that's what I think the
Tales. Excuse me, technical difficulties. Let me get this guy back on.
All right.
Good.
I think we're good.
Okay, good. All right. You remember what you
I'm
said? The thing can't keep up with you, bro.
Here, while you have it cut, just put Bobby inside real quick.
Oh yeah, man. My cat wants to get out real quick. Hold on. He's biting at my leg.
That's a nice little setup you guys got.
It's pretty dope. This fool did everything. I didn't do any of this. This is all 100%.
I've got to get mine.
I got another setup right here too, but I'm just trying this one out right now.
And you can just transition this in. I'm ready when you are, boys.
Yeah. So the tails. You were talking about the tails.
Okay. So
the tail
like
feather.
So like I forgot what I was saying specifically. The perils of having ADD, but
The mud floods.
if you can, yeah, well, the mud floods. And the thing is, with the way that I saw it, you have it's because it's so convoluted in the sense that there's so much stuff that relates to one another.
Uh-huh.
I mean, one of the oldest Phoenician things that you could see is these, and this is, I think, back when they barely came here. You look at the Sumerian ones. Have you seen those statues that have that lizard kind of thing with the shoulders all
I have
like
seen it.
big and
I have seen
okay?
it. Yeah.
That's Phoenician.
Phoenicians. Okay.
That's the thing right there. And I was like, well, what the hell? Because it doesn't. I mean, it's feeding a kid. It doesn't look like it's, like a dick, basically. Yeah. And you look at the old. There's one where there's a ship full of them, and in the front of the ship they have a bull. Now these things were supposed to be giants, right? These what they call Anunnaki, but I'm just going to say Phoenician because that's what they call them. You go to Egypt, right? They have those giant black sarcophagus, and they said they were for Apis bulls, right? And they don't know who moved them, whatever. It's like you'd have to have something with buff-ass strength to be able to move everything right there. A human couldn't move it. So you look at these things, if they were for the Apis bulls, the Apis bull could be just like the serpents were for the Druids. So when, which also I have to say, that's another thing from the Phoenicians and serpents getting screwed over by the Christians or Catholics, actually, the Catholics. So you have all these different things. So you have like
they like to do that, yeah.
Phoenicians, regular people, and giants. Then it goes to like giants, and then Phoenicians, and it goes to like giants and regular people, and then people that were offshoot of royalty for Phoenicians. And that's the whole thing where you have like King Tut and like Akhenaten and stuff. Same thing with the heads. You know what I mean? With Nefertiti, I think. Same thing with the heads. And they said that they were basically banging each other to keep the bloodline pure or whatever. And you could see like, oh crap, then that means that they were dying off, and they knew they were dying off.
The Tatar.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, they just basically like they bang each other. But I digress with that. What I'm trying to get at is back in the day, if it goes to Tartarian itself, they knew the secrets of cymatics. And whether they got it from their own thing or from the Phoenicians, which I believe it was Phoenician. Like they're the ones with all this, I guess, druidic serpent knowledge. It's called different things over different times. But the one thing that remains the same for most stuff is the serpent knowledge. And all that is knowledge of waves. And the waves are either like atmospheric waves, radio waves, electrical waves. It's basically current. Medusa and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Electricity.
When
you touch it, you turn to stone, which, I mean, you ever get shocked before?
Static.
You know, it's just like, well, no, not like the hair was the electricity. Like, imagine a ball with a bunch of electricity coming out of it. It looked like a head with a bunch of snakes coming out of it. You know, and it'd be making all sorts of weird noise, so you'd be scared of it like a gorgon. And if you touched it, you basically die by getting petrified, which you get shocked, you're not able to move anything. You get petrified and you die. Like, there's all these things where you can be like, okay, if it's not that, what is it? If I can prove that they had the ability to create electricity back then, because they had magnets, they had copper, they had crystals, and they had the ability of knowing the serpent knowledge as far as sound waves and what the different sound waves do.
You think that's where like Nikola Tesla got a lot of his information from?
Yeah. Actually, if you look at a bunch of video or pictures from back in the day,
mm-hmm.
there's actually in Latvia, Russia, lots in St. Petersburg as well. They're using electricity. They have electric cars.
Yeah.
You know, like they had that technology back then, but I think the whole thing is these Phoenician or whatever people knew. Oh, it's basically like this. They're basically offshoots of like Roman Catholic. The Catholic Church took over, and I think kind of screwed the Phoenicians over. But it's in a weird sense to where it's like the Tartarians totally got screwed, like without a doubt, by the Catholics. Like they basically took them over, killed most of them, and they were like, there's a time when the Tartarians, like they have them eating people and being cannibalistic and stuff.
That's what I looked into, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like a book from the 1600s about that shit. And that's what I was gonna say when you're talking about them banging each other. You know what I mean? There was like Mongolian Tartarians. There was Turkish Tartarians.
Well, the Tartarians weren't really banging each other. That was the Phoenicians.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
It's like serpent. It's like more of a serpent, the serpent cult one. So you have, there's a bunch of stories, man. I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to offend anybody directly from any. You know what I mean? But like, it basically goes to the fact that that's why they're not here anymore. But there's still a bloodline that tries to rule from it. There's something that is the Phoenician. They had a god essentially that they served, and I think that was Bacchus or something like that. But here's the weird part: is that you didn't have any kind of pictures for the Tartarians, really. Like, I mean, there's no pictures per se, like
illustrations.
Geometric, no illustrations. More geometric shapes. They only cared about the science of it and stuff like that. With the Phoenician stuff, you get more of like a Romanesque, Greek orgy. Let's burn the babies.
My kind of people.
You know what
Other
I mean?
than that, killing the baby shit. Yeah, but orgies.
It's like that's the way they were. You know what I mean? Like the Phoenicians, like terror. So I think with their stuff, it was more of like they're trying to please a god or something like that. But not a good one. With the Tartarians, it was more of just like, look, we can live in peace without having to deal with violence or anything like that. Let's just kind of sink our minds to the natural flow of things.
What are
geometric flow of things.
What are your thoughts of them being like, I guess like evil too? I heard them being like very ruthless, like they're torturing people. Because you gotta think too, like with these people, this is like a lost civilization, and it's like they're erased from history. No one even talks about them. It's like Maybe that's where all those burning of the books and shit. Because also, what I heard too, like about the Tartarians, like they could have been a lost tribe of Jewish people, of like the Khazars, like northern Germany or Poland. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Well, see, I think that's more Phoenician.
that's Phoenicians as well. Okay.
Yeah, because the Phoenicians are the ones that where you see like your swastikas, your Star of David, your crosses, and all of those are based off of an etherical energy source. The way the energy source works is weird because I mean the way the swastika it generates an alternating current by disrupting the flow of the ether. That's the way sacred geometry works. Now, they found the way to be able to harness the energy from that, store it in the churches, essentially, in the columns. That's why you see some columns with, like, kind of coil wrapped around. They're like, what the hell? Why? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or the way it has, like, it's almost like a fountain coming out. If you look at the Sumerians and, like, their rock etchings or whatever, there's a tree of life almost, and it looks like it's flowing out. And if you look at the way the church works, how it's resonant, it's built to resonate the energy. It would basically bring I can't explain it. It's like a picture. It brings the energy or the sound from the column and kind of stores it in there like a battery. I know it's weird, but essentially a capacitor with some weird like phi ratio egg-shaped twist, almost like a vortex. Victor Schauberger did it with water. These people are doing it with electricity.
Hey, can you tell me?
What's
hold
up?
For 1 second. Yeah, my friend? Hold on.
But this is like extra guerrilla style right now. So.
I mean, at least you're working out the kinks. Oh, one thing that I did find cool too, I don't know but you see how look in the middle, right?
Yeah.
That's the Pentagon, basically, bro.
Oh, that's crazy. A Pentagon?
You know what I mean? So all this stuff, it's connected, man, in such a weird way. Like, I think what had happened is there was an original grid, like an energy grid, right? Like a literal grid that they made that functioned all around the world. That's why these things are built all over the place. And
isn't that kind of what they were talking about with the pyramids and shit? How the pyramids are supposed to be like resonating like energy. You find those kind of like obelisks or whatever the fuck all over the place, and they're like in weird like longitude.
The obelisks are the antennas. They're the relays.
Right.
Like the thing is, like, people don't really know what frequency is to match. Like, if you build something that's the same shape and scale as something else, it should be at that frequency. Every shape has its own frequency. If thing's made out of the same thing in some way, I don't know how they did it, man. Like, that's that whole knowledge thing. And that's why I think now I think it's because we're wrong. Like, the way we think science works is not the way that it works. That's it.
I think like, a much more Hollywood, known idea or premise would be like Atlantis, for instance, where it's a lost civilization and they allegedly had all these crazy technology and powers and everything. And I definitely believe there was something to that effect. But, you were talking about like how you can use sound to like, there's things where they're levitating objects, light objects. It's not pyramids or anything, but they're levitating things just simply with acoustics. I mean, they have those guns, like it's like an acoustic gun or whatever that they shoot into crowds to like disperse them and stuff.
Yeah, it's a 5G kind of microwave signal.
Oh shit!
It throws like gamma radiation and burns like the second layer, like wherever your dermis is, the third layer of dermis. It gets down there, so you don't burn so much as your nerves feel the burning sensation that your body takes as ouch. But that's what supposedly those fascias things are. Those bundle of rods. I don't. You remember how I said every church or whatever they build, temple or whatever, had a certain frequency to it, resonance, right? What happens with like a wine glass when you hit the resonant frequency of that, right?
Yeah.
So imagine you hit the resonant frequency of a church or a building. What do you think it would look like? Basically, a bunch of bricks that topple down, right?
On each other, yeah.
So go back and look at all those fires that happened where the whole city block's completely leveled, right? How the hell are the electric or telephone wires still standing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
You know?
well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if something is such a hardcore fire that it's going to burn down a building made of bricks and cement, you're going to tell me that, you know, the or the wooden poles or even the trees, they're not going to be burnt to hell?
Oh,
Well, that's you know, that
talking
reminds
about,
me
like,
about Russia too. I heard that in Russia, there's no trees older than 200 years old. Like something happened, like wiped everything down there too, as well.
Oh,
And then Tartaria, man, we're talking about Tartaria. They reign over a big part of the world, bro. That shit reached over to the Americas, to Canada, all throughout Asia, Russia, a little bit of Europe, I guess, Northern Europe.
it would have, the Tartaria itself would have been around Asia.
Probably the biggest
Russia.
empire, probably, right? At one time.
Yeah. And, you know, they if you look at the old, like old cartography drawings or almanac things, like there's people that look Japanese, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're wearing Japanese clothes, but they look like white people giants in Japanese clothes. Like 1600s, 1400s, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, what was it? When was the Dark Ages? Where they said nothing happened?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna talk about too. The Phantom Time, when they
Yeah,
fucking oh shit, you popped off. Yeah, some
I got 20% left battery.
some dickhead emperor and some pope or some shit fucking wrote in the Dark Ages because I guess their timeline didn't fit in where they want to be ruling and shit, right? Is that correct? They were like
Yeah.
ruling at around
Right,
the
'cause
700s.
they're
They
like-
wanted to be around the 1,000 or some shit like that. So they
Well,
tried
just
out.
because they said supposedly there's already 1,000 years added.
Yeah,
Like this whole time frame is not this time frame. And when you think about it, time doesn't even exist. It's all relative. It's a way to explain something. So, like with their stuff, they're like, look, it's like when you're at school and you need to write like 500 more words or whatever,
yeah,
and you're just putting just whatever. You know, this happened, that happened. That's basically all they did because they're like, dude, there's way too much stuff that happened for us to put it in. Plus, we want to rule, so we're gonna say that we're the ones that did all this.
no,
You know, basically like
took credit for this
plagiarizing.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah, and you know that how do you rule a civilization? You say that you're the one who built it, and then other people don't know anything about it, so they're not going to question you.
What are your
You know?
thoughts about after like the mud floods, like the civilization reset that they had? Have you heard about
Which
the?
one?
Oh, well, for Tartaria, I should say. They have you heard about the orphan trains? Because when I was looking into it, I something kept on popping up about the orphan
That
trains.
they brought all the orphans down for like to start the new civilization.
Something
here,
around like
reset?
yeah, like the civilization, like the adults were wiped out, and they kind of want to re-educated these kids and took them somewhere else, kind of all across the world. I guess they were put into Europe, America, into like farmlands to work and shit like that. They came into like the early, somewhere in the 1800s. I guess they were being like deposited everywhere around the world and shit like that.
Well, like if you look at, you remember that Denver airport thing?
Yeah.
Okay, they took it down, by the way. Oh, by the way, supposedly underground, there's like, 15-foot giants? Like, there was a urinal that a guy, he went down so far, he's like, it felt like it was forever. When I finally got there, he went looking around for the bathroom, and he said that he went in there, and there was a urinal that there's no way a regular human would be able to use. It was too big and too high.
And you see that
Here's the
shit,
thing.
bro. You see big ass
Yeah.
buildings with fucking tall ass doors and shit. Like, who the fuck needs a door that big, man? You know what I mean? Unless
Yeah.
you're driving a tank through it or something, you know? And also these big
Right.
ass books, giant books, like huge fucking books. Like, who's gonna be opening that shit, dude?
Well, there's a type of monolith they have where it's two like thin rocks, and then they have one rock stacked on top of each other, and it's supposed to be the burial site of a giant. And they find all these other things, underground beds, 12, 13 feet tall, all that kind of stuff.
Well, this is what I think. I think that there were the Phoenicians, like, that were underground. These are the ones that were the ant people, the lizard people, or whatever, that came and helped the Hopis. That were like, hey, come, because supposedly there's another. When the Earth does all this weird stuff, the solar radiation gets terrible, and it's unbearable here, and so you have to go underground. But it's like, well, how do you see underground? Like, what are the only things they can see underground or that are there? And then you have all the stories of the reptilian people, the snake people, and stuff like that live underground, that help the people here. So I think as far as the Tartarians and the Phoenicians or whatever's the leftover of them, because I think we just bred so much that it was just like we just overtook them by sheer just breeding.
Yeah.
That's it. Think about it. Like, the population compared to what it was, what it turned into, it's insane.
For real, man. Yeah, I don't know. You see the evidence here, bro. Like, the buildings, the architecture. There's maps. There's fucking maps that date back to, like, the 1400s talking about Tartaria and shit. It's just crazy how they're not even, like... You know of Atlantis. You hear about Atlantis and shit. You know about the pyramids of Giza and the Maya, how they came and probably set up shop there at one time when somebody else was living there. You know about the Japan. There's a Atlantis of Japan. Outside of Japan, there's like this underwater monument that they found that supposedly dates back to like 10,000 years old.
Yeah, the Yonaguni.
Yonaguni. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that one, if you look at it, there's something similar. I forgot where, in South America or Mexico or Ecuador, something like that. And
El Dorado.
I don't know where it is, but it has a terrain of everything, and it has those steps. And if you think about it, well, if the world, okay, this is what I was thinking too. If the world was had a different gravitational pull due to the moon being in a different place, interacting with the Earth and the sun, it's all electromagnetism. It all plays a part with each other. The moon controls the tides. It controls, the electromagnetism that's getting blocked as well. Because you have to think about it this way. There's all this electromagnetic radiation coming from all the planets too. So when somebody's like, I was born under this sign or whatever, it's like, well, I don't know if you know that, it may not have been that, like, at that time. But if you look at the celestials, there's one thing that always remains the same, that a planetary body is going to have an effect on things here. Now, when you have those planetary bodies in back of the moon, that means that wave is not hitting at this particular time. So when someone's like, it's the best time to do that, it's because the influence of that electromagnetism actually has an influence on your brain. So astrology is true, but people are stupid and they don't know. Well, not all people, but a lot of people are stupid. And they're just like, oh yeah, I'm an Aquarius, bro. That means that I'm a free thinker and stuff. It's like, you don't even know what the fuck that means. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it does play a part. The moon, when it's full, moon people go, like, that's where you get lunacy from, and lunatic, because it really genuinely affects. Most murders fucking occur within a full moon.
Yeah.
So it definitely has an effect, and that would also mean too that if the celestial stuff is in a certain position, then it's the right time for something to happen. If you look through everything, the one thing remains constant: fucking the Orion. And if you look further into these, like, civilizations that were in Ecuador, like the Father Crespi place and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Klaus Donna, like, they have where it's the constellation. It's like a triangle. And I didn't notice this until the other day. And I have a constellation thing on my phone. So I was like, okay, well, in the pictures, here's the moon, and here's the sun, and here's some triangle in the middle. So I'm like, just for shits and giggles, I want to see if it has Orion in it. So I went and checked it. Sure enough, the three stars would be the Betelgeuse or whatever it is, Procerion, and Sirius. That's where the triangle would be. like right in the middle. So you have the sun, you have the moon on one end, the sun on one end, and then that triangle. And if you look at the old alchemical drawings and stuff like that, the Jesuit drawings and stuff, it has the sun and then the moon and then the triangle in the middle.
The Trinity.
So, yeah, that's supposedly that's supposed to, I don't know if it's in the middle or one of the stars or whatever, but it's funny that that's right next to Orion's belt, which is what the pyramids are based off of.
I heard about that. That's like the work of, what's his name? Man, I forgot that dude.
It's supposed to be like a wormhole.
Yeah.
Like a wormhole.
So you see the remains of these lost civilizations, such as Tartaria, even the Phoenicians and stuff like that. You see the evidence. Even for Tartaria, you see it even with here in the States, and it's just so weird, man. Like how they're not talked about. You know, like it's just like they're literally just erased from history or something. They're not mentioned. Like, to be honest with you, I just kind of learned about these guys like the last couple of years. You know, they just popped out of nowhere, to be honest.
Yeah, and all these, I know it's like glary, but all these are located in America, Asia, Russia, Africa, Netherlands.
The star forts, right? Those are the star forts.
Star forts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look how big that is, man. Like,
for reals,
you're gonna tell
gigantic.
me that people built that with like hammers and chisels and stuff?
Well, that's what you see. You see these megalithic structures, right? Say for the Pyramid of Giza, right? And then you see modern day man building something not that far down. That's just like a piece of shit. You see that. You see evidence of that in certain places, bro. Even in cities.
Yeah.
Like you see cities with big buildings and shit. And you wonder like how the fuck did people build that? And then you got these small buildings right across the street. Like there's a big difference in the architecture.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think what happened is there's a whole thing about the World's Fair being a farce, that it was for like, that everything in America, that all the like Thomas Jefferson, Monticello, and all those like Greek structures, they were already built here before.
Yeah.
Like there was Tartarian stuff here before, and then the Phoenicians took over, and then they built their stuff. And then there was another reset after that, and we're that reset.
Yeah. And then you got pyramids. I mean, you got maps. You got also they have these tablets that they found, the Tartarian tablets. Like these 3 clay tablets, like 2 rectangular and 1 circular tablets that predates the Sumerian cuneiform tablets. Yeah, correct, right there. Yeah, those predate the Sumerian Those are like supposedly the oldest writing known to man.
Yeah, cuneiform. And there's a bowl that I think was found in South America.
Yeah.
That cuneiform as well, cuneiform writing. So this civilization was around, but here's the weird part. They all have these weird headdresses and stuff. And that's what I think they were able, I mean, they weren't psychic, obviously, because they would have saw it coming. But they were in touch with how sound works. Like how you could use it for electricity, how you could use it for all this other stuff, energy, to cut, to build things. You know, and that's the most important thing, is how the hell they build all this stuff. Because if you're going to, there's no, I can't even tell you, man. I mean, I can theoretically tell you, but if you want like a genuine, like, you know, scientific architectural answer, there's no way I could tell you, because it's almost impossible. You had to use sound as a knife or a laser or something like that.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's just crazy how we know, like I said, we see empires rise and they fall, bro. Have you heard of the Universe 25? The experiment that was done by this guy, what's his name? American scientist John Calhoun, and in which he studied the behavior of mice and the attempt to explain human society. So I don't know. It's interesting. It just kind of just shows that experiment that guy did just kind of explains like how society just crumbles and falls. You know what I mean? So I just
yeah.
And you see
the thing is,
the Romans and shit. Like ruled for like 1,000 years, you know what I mean? And they too came to an end.
I think we're actually going through a partial reset right now. That's why it's kind of like, because personally, man, I mean, things were crazy, you know, when we went to high school and stuff like that, but not in the way that it is now. Like, I remember when I didn't care or give an F about anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, cool, whatever. That's right. So, whatever. And then now it's gotten to the point where I'm just like, I can't. It's almost like society took a bunch of acid and didn't know how to take it, and they're in denial. That's literally what it's like.
Yeah, that's true, man. And yeah, we're in like you just see people right now. I think they're in denial, dude. Because what are your thoughts about the parasites? About
the mind one?
Yeah, like supposedly the parasites, the people, the powers that be, are the ones that took all the technology of this lost technology of these civilizations and flipped it, and now they're using it to fucking benefit off of it. They're like electricity, all this other shit you could think of that's supposed to be free, man. You know what I mean? But they fucking somehow know how to fucking market it, and now they're ruling others with it, enslaving us. What are your thoughts about that?
Be perfectly honest, man.
Yeah.
No. I don't think I get assassinated for this. I think that we're always playing a game. Whatever sides that are doing this, and there may be more than two sides, they're always playing a game. That's why there's constant war. It's basically like you're playing. It's almost like playing chicken. You know what I mean? Let's see who can screw with the other person as close to a reset as possible. And whoever's like kind of screwed, it's like, hey, that's the way it is. And then that branch takes over. So I think when one's lax, there's other stuff that's done to make it more lax. Like the Tartarians, they got taken over because they were way too lax.
Yeah. And
it's almost like the Phoenicians or whoever took over waited. They just waited. And then, boom, mud flood happened. They're screwed. All the mud would have covered like a bunch of the Starfort stuff. So say if that was a machine that protected them or something like that, it would have been like, oh, okay, we just have to wait for it to dry a little bit, then we can cross up it, or whatever. And basically, they show them using these cannons or some kind of acoustic device or something like that, making the wall crumble. Joshua in the Battle of Jericho, right?
Yeah.
They blew horns, marched around something a certain number of times, and the walls came crumbling down. Same technology, man. It's the same technology. Whatever that was that they used, it's the same technology. And here's the weird part, is that Hitler, when they asked, well, why don't we just use a nuclear bomb? He's like, well, that's Jewish science, And then, but their thing was the swastika. So right there, you have like almost like okay, that's the swastika, and then you have that versus the whatever, I guess the nuclear stuff would have been. But you have to look at it this way: if the Ark of the Covenant was, I think it was just radioactivity, man. That's what they used to power it. I don't know where they got it from, or what. I don't know. Maybe it was on a mountain that a god left or something like that. Just something that was there. Maybe that's what was making the bush burn. Maybe it was just glowing because it was radiant.
Damn.
There's all these different things that it could possibly be. I have a scientific mindset, so I can postulate pretty much. I can go with both sides on anything. I can be like, well, they probably did it by this. I know physics and I know metaphysics and I know it pretty well.
Lost technology, man. Yeah, Tartarian lost technology.
Yeah. See, and here's the thing: like regular people, they think it's too convoluted to learn. It's not. It's really simple. Magnetic induction, simple as hell. Like I remember being like, oh, it's gonna be all this stuff to know and learn. If you have a power source, you have a capacitor, you have something, a dynamo, like say a waterfall, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a waterfall, and then you put something on the bottom so that it goes like that. You constantly have an electric charge if you have like something that's like say a rock that's pounding quartz. You're going to get an electric charge. You make a capacitor like those Baghdad batteries or whatever, you can build the charge and hold it in there and let it dissipate at a certain voltage. You have electricity, and then you have a constant renewing. Like, there's no way, and this is what I think that all the Merlins and all the wizards and stuff, these were like, the Tartarians were essentially witches. They're the ones that have like the moon thing, like the,
okay, I know what you're talking about. That little
like
crescent moon on their forehead. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's Tartaria. And they're like huge, brutal dudes.
What
you know?
What do you think? So, do you think they were wiped out, or do you think they merged with humans? Because do you think they're like some kind of mythical race, or were they humans, or what do you think?
No, they were humans. They were just humans
Giants.
from an older age, where the magnetic pull of the Earth was different. So they could be taller because the gravity itself wasn't as hardcore on them, or it could have been something with the atmosphere. Whatever wasn't pulling them down or making them stretch up wasn't happening anymore. And see, when the Earth, like I said, when it changes its position or the celestial parts change, then the gravitational effect will take place on Earth. Since you're connected to the Earth, your DNA is essentially intrinsically from the Earth and based off of a phi ratio of 1.618, like a ham phi ratio. It's, think of phi ratio. So that means that if something changes within the magnetic field of the Earth, known as to people as gravity, it's going to have a direct effect on your DNA, which could possibly cause you to essentially become smaller because that's what the Earth is that's what's needed to live on the Earth.
So there's a percentage.
So I think
there's a percentage of Tartarian in us. It's like a small percentage, like 1/64 of or whatever in Tartarian in us. Maybe it's the Maybe it's the tartar in our teeth. That's where fucking Tartarians. What we have within us and shit. That's Tartarians. Do you have any other questions, man, about this or?
No, it's just a lot of information.
A lot of info, huh? Shit, no, there's a lot, man. I'm trying to think. I think we covered a lot of shit too.
We did, man.
Hyperborea. We didn't talk much about. We didn't talk much about Hyperborea too. The land beyond the north wind. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's two things. Up at the top, it's basically up at the top, like North Pole. Essentially, that's where Hyperborea is going to be. But there's a place in Antarctica that's right below South America, and that place is called Phoenicia. So I posit this, and this is that's the only reason for any type of flat Earth bullshit that, whatever.
We'll get into that for like a whole nother episode. I'm down for that one though.
Okay, just real fast. if there's a way that the pole of the Earth, it's called I think inertial plane between the two.
Yeah.
There could be a way for something to travel from one side to the other. I'm just saying, bro. It's possible, and if Hyperborea is on the North Pole, and Phoenicia would be on the bottom, that means that they could have been up and down, so they could have taken all places.
Some hollow Earth kind of transportation, huh?
Yeah. And like I said, it's an inertial plane. Earth's like a giant magnet. In the middle of an inertial plane, you don't have a push or pull, so it could just possibly be falling right up to it.
Yeah.
There's no, time doesn't exist, and if time's held to relativity, and relativity is held to electromagnetism, then nothing's relative in that point.
That's crazy, man. I don't know. It's interesting. You can, from what we're told and from what we're learning now, there's been a lot of civilizations that came and gone, and you got like places like Tartaria, Atlantis, Göbekli Tepe. We didn't even get into that too. You know what I mean? That's another one of those spots that they're finding out a lot of interesting stuff about. And El Dorado, I mentioned that right now too. That's like a big somewhere in the South America, I believe. That's like a
El Dorado, I think Peru. Well, El Dorado is the story of El Dorado.
Yeah.
Like it's a guy.
Okay, it's a guy. I thought it was like this land or something like that they were in search of.
Well, I mean, technically it's like, we found El Dorado. Maybe it is. I forgot. It's supposed to be in a lake with some god. I wrote a song about it called El Dorado.
Oh, that's what's up. Maybe we could, if you send that, maybe I could play it at the end of this or something, if you still have it.
Yeah, why not? I need to find it again, but I'm pretty sure I can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, man, look at Easter Island, too, and Narnia, bro. Look at these fucking places. They're fucking crazy, and who knows?
Yanagori.
Yeah, yep.
Got to tell you about the South American and Easter Island connection, too.
Oh, shit. Maybe you want to talk about, is it long or is it just short? You want to?
We
could do a whole nother episode on that, yeah.
Basically, look up Urfaman. Look up Urfaman and the giants of Sardinia. You're going to see a bunch, the same dude, kind of bald, white dude.
Yeah.
Like holding his hands like this forward with like his dong. You know what I mean? Like right there.
Yeah.
You'll see that in South America. You'll see that in Easter Island. You'll see that Gobekli Tepe, and I believe Sardinia and a couple of other places. It's all the same dude. It's like a father race, and I think there were different father races for different faces. Very weird thing, but I mean, it would make sense in a way. But I think it's awesome. Either way.
Yeah, man, it's interesting as fuck. Yeah, yep. I don't know, man. Any thoughts and stuff?
And mother race.
It's crazy. It's a lot of info. I mean, it's one of those things, you know, a lot to soak in.
Lot to soak in, man. Mike, do you have anything like you want to plug or anything like that, man? Little shout outs or anything like that?
Nah, man, I hate everybody equally.
That's what's up. Well, you take care, bro. Thank you for coming on, and we'll do it again.
Later, man.
It's my birthday, man. I'd have to cut it short today, so yeah.
Today?
yeah, it's
Happy
today.
birthday, dude.
You,
I
man.
didn't God, what a friend of mine. I'm a total homie, huh?
No, that's what's up, bro. It's good, bro. Yeah, I got some dinner waiting and shit, so but we hit an hour, man. That's all good, and
that's awesome.
That's what's up. But yeah, thanks for coming on, man, and we'll keep in touch.
Thanks for having my ADD ass on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.